Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen for November 5th to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, there are 5 selectmen present, and Mr. Sullivan, Derek Sullivan, the town administrator.
Yes, Attorney Bowen's here, is just chimed in as well. Pledge of Allegiance. Derek, please.
The agenda. Give me the agenda, please.
I pledge allegiance
You have the
The United States
America.
and to the
Republic.
stands
agenda.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's
Peter,
not
is
easy.
it possible to get a hold of Steve? Hey,
Excuse
Peter,
me?
is it possible to get a hold of Steve and mute everybody who is not a selectman? We're getting a lot of background sound and everything else.
Yeah, Derek, can you text him perhaps?
I tried calling him, but he's not answering his phone.
Yeah. Okay.
That's this way.
Yep. Announcements. Alan, do you have any?
The only one I have right now is I was on the phone this morning with Chief Walsek, and Bob Ethia got a hold of him as well. He for the day on the 11th due to the governor's latest restrictions as far as gatherings. John and myself are both trying to get a hold of Skip Sanelli, who's in charge, to make a decision whether or not the static displays will go on or whether they'll have to be basically not available, and just the video, which I think Bob White said, I think starts at 10 o'clock on the 11th.
Yeah.
So I'll try and update and get it in the town website, but we have to from the static displays.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Patrick? Oh, he's still not in. Jim?
Not a lot. I don't know if anybody else got them. I got a robocall from the state today about COVID and everybody should be wearing masks and go out into public. So if you haven't gotten them, hopefully you will. That's about all. The rest of it I'll take care of later during the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I suppose this is, well, I'll save it for board comments. Citizens' comments. Alan, your wife texted me and said she wanted to speak.
Peter?
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Yes,
It's allowed.
good evening, thank you.
She can't talk to him when we're deliberating, but she can talk now.
Just wonderful.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to let people know that Community Preservation Act funds, we are due, our deadline is the 4th Monday in December if you want to submit a grant request. It's expanded since we have a different time frame for when articles are due. And I just have a question on our FY20 annual report. Can you tell me at what point in the year is the data snapshot? Because I was surprised to find Alan Slavin still the chair of BOS.
The report is published as of June 30th. And from time to time, there are errors.
Well, that's not an error because that annual report covers from July 1st, 2019. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, unfortunately, Pat.
Okay, yeah. Yep. How'd you let that get by, Whiteside? I thought you proofread all this stuff.
I didn't proofread those 3 pages.
Shame on you.
Yeah, I know.
Tisk, tisk.
Then by doing that, I was surprised that Mary Bruce was listed as liaison for a lot of our committees. But that was and there was no BOS report. I was quite surprised at that.
Thank you.
But
Okay, well,
thing I wanted
Alan,
to
your term was
say,
extended.
I
It's
think
too bad you
that's
didn't
it. I
know
must
at the time.
have made up my, I must have made up my 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yep,
You have
thank
to
you.
have the, you need to have a control button on your desk there, Peter.
I need what the Pentagon has.
I think that's a bomb that they hit a button on.
I would ask anybody who's listening in, if you're here to make a comment, a general comment, put your video on and raise your hand. I'll acknowledge you and we'll hear you.
Don Jepson?
Hi, Don.
Yep.
I'll let you
Just
go
quick.
first. Hold on, gotta set my egg timer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Peter, I emailed you and copied the selectmen and Derek on my interest in participating in the plan that you are putting together to make everybody safe. As part of that, I'm aware of a program that was put together by a neighbor of mine in Standish Shores, Deanne Bonner, and their neighborhood association. What they did was they put together an emergency preparedness kit, and it is absolutely super. And in there, one of the things that she mentioned was that the Wareham Emergency Preparedness Guide, they were only able to get hold of one because it's out of print. They had to run them off, but there's a whole list of things that they have that come from the Mass Health and also from AARP, from the American Red Cross, MEMA, checklist for hurricane preparedness, be informed and receive emergency alerts. It has a whole list of people that you can register with. There's a bag for important files with a checklist from Mass Health, 2 whistles, prescription pill holder. The kits are, she said she has 7 kits left over. They're absolutely super. And she said she would be glad to share them, one each for each of the selectmen and town administrators. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, that's very, very kind of her and you as well, Don. I did notice your email earlier, and when I get time, I'll take a look at it further. So thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to raise their hand and speak, or are we going on to board comments? Okay, board comments.
Wait. Yeah, I would like to say something.
Just identify yourself, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is Holly Haratunian,
Mhm.
and I wanted to comment on the NODOS group being allowed back in. I would ask that you not allow them to put their agenda back on the town fall winter meeting. Whoops, hang on. Hang on. Oh, okay, good. We've got video. Them withdrawing their motion and then coming back, I don't understand it. It feels sneaky. I feel like they're trying to pull something. Town moderator Claire Smith said she expects about 225 people voting at that meeting, and that it'll be very limited due to COVID. I just don't think 225 people, citizens of Wareham, are enough to make such an important decision about the casino.
Well, I have to tell you, for one thing, none of us, not the Board of Selectmen or the town administrator, can limit who shows up to town meeting. If she was saying that she expected that amount of people to show up, that's one thing. But it's incorrect to say that any town meeting would be limited to 225 people. It could be 40 people, it could be 4,000. We don't know.
Well, just with COVID in the winter, in that week between Christmas and New Year's, that there wouldn't be any place to put more than 225 people. I think that was the point she was making. And my point is, with only 225 people voting, that's not enough on such an important decision like the casino. I think it should be moved to next spring.
Okay. Thank you for your remarks.
Thank you.
I actually would like to make some remarks.
And who do we have the pleasure of listening to now?
Diane Kenny.
Please go ahead.
I noticed on the agenda that's up for next week, there's a question on a special town meeting for December 12th. Is that for the NODOS group?
It would be if the board votes it.
So we're going to hold a special town meeting on December 12th in the middle of a pandemic for such a large decision.
That's what they're requesting. To the extent that there's a problem during the pandemic, as I've discussed at length with the town moderator. And this relates also to the fall town meeting that was delayed until December 28th is the next anticipated day. Oops, did I lose video here?
So a developer asks for a special town meeting and the board will vote tonight whether that's going to happen or not?
No, tonight, all we're doing is listening to what their presentation is and asking any questions we have.
And then when would the vote be, next week?
Tuesday would be if we do decide to do that. I don't even know if there'll be a motion for it. I put it on the agenda. That's why it says possible.
All righty, thank you.
Yep. For anybody else? Okay, I guess not. If we could go back to quiet microphone, Steve, and we'll have board comments. Alan.
Let's see. The only thing I have came up last week, the electrical aggregation program that will start, I think, either in December or the beginning of January. There's a CMR that the state has where they allow an increase due to certain costs that come in that are, beyond the control of anyone. It's basically written into the CMR agreements for utilities. And there's been basically an allowance been made for a change, has to do with cleaning of the power stations, etc. And excuse me, it will be a very small increase, but it'll be an increase. The increase also will be passed on by Eversource, National Grid, etc. But it's want people to know that the contract that we signed and the dollar amount will have a slight increase. Oh, my birthday cake is here. Thank you. Yeah. And I think that's really, it's not, I think it will be acceptable to everybody, but again, I just want to remind everybody, this program is an opt-out anytime you want. You're not required to basically to use it if you don't want to, but it will save some money. How much, I don't know at this time yet, because I haven't seen the newest rates from Eversource or National Grid. That's it, Peter.
Okay, thank you. We'll try Patrick. Patrick, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm all
Okay. Yep, board comments?
Thanks.
You have any comments?
No, I'm all set. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Jim?
I'd like to piggyback on what Alan was just discussing on the aggregate. Where can you find information if you're interested in joining into the aggregate program? I've looked online on the town website, and not recently though. I couldn't find it, and I think it would be good information for people to have, so that if they're interested, they'll have a place to go to and click on it and say, fill me in and how do I sign up and whatnot.
Jim, just so you understand, that will be coming probably in November, December, from Good Energy, etc. The same as the last time when we signed up about a little over a year ago. Everybody gets a notice of how the process works and how you can opt out if you want.
Right. But what about if you want to opt in? Is it only, can you only join at that point? Or can you join during the year?
You basically are opted in when the program renews each time, so you have to opt out if you don't want it. My understanding is you can probably opt in anytime you want. The problem is you may be under contract with somebody else and they may not allow you to opt out.
Right, but where can you find the information? That was mainly my question, so that people can educate themselves on it, or if they're interested. I mean, maybe it's not there. I had brought this up to someone else before, and I didn't get an answer. Anyhow, thank you.
What we can do, Jim, is the company that we contracted with to handle as far as is called Good Energy, and I'll try and get it up on the town website. I've been given an email address for John O'Rourke, who handles our account, and the information can be available that way as well. Give me a day or so and I'll get that up for you.
I thank you very much. I'm all set now. Thank you.
Okay. Judy?
None, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, we just went through a huge election, the biggest turnout of voters in this town's history, easily. close to 13,000 out of a little over 17,000 voters, registered voters, came to the polls, exercised their freedom to vote. I'm proud that it was handled in a very orderly fashion by the clerk's office. I'm proud that the voters themselves, took waiting in line, because you did have to wait in line a little bit due to the code of restrictions in the voting areas. It was busy. It was very busy, but we had really no problems here at all. And I think that's a testament both to how the election was organized by the town clerk, the assistant town clerk, other staff members, and the town administrator as well. He had to prepare these buildings, at least in the case of town hall, and make sure that it was safe for the voters and that it was safe for the employees as well. So I think it was a pretty good achievement on the part of the town to have something go smoothly. I mean, it's not something that is going to last into the future, but it was handled very well, and I'm very appreciative of that. Let's see. Appointments. We have certified waymasters, and these are all people from Willeka Movers.
That's correct.
Yeah, they have to have certified weighers for insurance purposes, I think, which is the reason why they employ a bunch there. So
We've done this in the past for them. Then the request comes directly from Waulika.
Yep.
The only paperwork that we have is the request from Waulika and then their names. There is no requirement for any other backup documentation at all at the moment. So
yep.
I will make a motion that we appoint. Can I do them all at once?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll poll the board on that. Alan,
Of course.
you're okay with it? Patrick, you okay with it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jim, you okay with it?
But to do them all at once?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll have, once a motion's made, we can have discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Judy. Make your motion.
Yep. I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Daniel Waulika, Brett Waulika, David St. Germain, Toby Gonzalez, Leonard Bissett, Lauren Lefebvre, and Eileen Morris to terms to expire June 30th, 2021 as certified waymasters.
Okay, we have a motion by Judy to appoint. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Patrick was first, so motion by Judy, seconded by Patrick. Discussion, Jim.
Yeah.
fine.
Well, I've been, I guess, a selectman for about a year and 9 months. I didn't see this last year. I see we have, we're being asked to license a permit, like the individuals as waymasters. I see no credentials, no certifications by the company who provides the scales or the weights. I looked in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations. I don't see anything about a weighmaster. I don't like the process without having backup documentation, and I don't know why they would need our licensing in order to perform what they're doing. This is new to me. I'd like some more information on it before we vote on it. And I guess that's all I have to say. It's just very, very, very sparse as far as the information goes. And they're saying, okay, give us just approve us for this. And I'm like, how can I approve them? I don't know what they're doing. I don't know their backgrounds. I don't know, how are we authorized to do that? It's not, I couldn't find it on our town website. Couldn't find it under town policies. I couldn't find it under Mass General laws.
Well, I guess that it sounds like you've got a question for Rich, so why don't we turn to him?
Attorney Bowen.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, Selectman Muniz. The only thing I can think of is something like a dealer of weights and measures, which is in the statutes. But beyond that, that's probably about it. I'd be happy to look into it for the next meeting if that would help.
That would be great, because I gave it a quick look-see. I see that New Hampshire has regulations and applications and certifications statewide. California, I think Pennsylvania, other states do, but I'm not seeing it in the Commonwealth statutes anywhere. And do we really need to do this? And I just, again, without background information and having some sort of certification process that they, were trained by the people whose scale they used, or I feel a little, I don't feel really good about approving it.
Here's the wrong daughter.
Thank you.
Huh? Here's the wrong daughter.
Oh, yeah.
No, that is the wrong daughter.
So I guess I'd ask
Thanks,
to
Steve.
put it off till next week, if we can find any information on it, so we can make a more informed decision. Thank you.
Well, I'll poll the board. Alan?
Peter Tettenbaum.
If you're asking, do I have a problem waiting for a week? I don't have a problem.
Patrick?
I'm okay to go forward for, I don't know, 20 years that I know of.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've done it before. That's, and if they need this for business purposes, I don't want to hold them up.
Well, was it, where do we get the authority to do it if we don't have a policy or anything else?
Well, it's gonna lie somewhere.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't remember at this point what, believe it or not. I mean, the first time we did this that I remember doing it was in 2000. So that's 20 years ago. So we've been doing it ever since. And they had a reason. They used to supply us with the reason and the information that they needed to have it. But I guess maybe they didn't supply it this time, and that could be problematic, I guess.
Yeah, so why don't we hold off a week then? If I can get withdrawals of the second and the motion, we'll come back to it.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay.
Sure.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I'll have a report for the board for the next meeting.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Thank you.
If you want, just so you know, it has to do with the measuring and weighing of vehicles.
Empty and not.
And, cars and also trailers. It's a little different. It has
Yep.
nothing to do with the weights and measures for like gas pumps, scales, etc.
No.
Right. That's absolutely a fact.
So, okay, we'll come back to it next week then. Licenses and permits. We have an application for a change of manager.
Yes, the paperwork for the application from Pepper Dining, Inc., DBA Chili's Grill and Bar, 2885 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, for a change of manager is in order.
Is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Can we have a second, please?
Second, Alan.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 500. Application for a seasonal liquor extension.
We cannot act on this because we do not have the application under the legal name of the business. The request came in signed by Cohog Republic, not
Project Half Shell.
Project Half Shell Inc., DBA Cohog Republic. And I asked the office to straighten that out on Monday, and apparently it hasn't been done because I didn't get notice of it. So we cannot act on that.
Yeah, because we're not going to send up something with the wrong name to the ABCC. Yep.
That's correct.
Okay. Very good. Down to town business. Why don't we skip right to number C? I think that's the item we've got here, people here for. And I will turn it over to Jeffrey Taccio of the Notice Group.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it's Derek. I know I'd
You want to do a preamble?
Yeah, no, I just requested it. So I want to give you a bit of a background and sort of going through this. And you can almost take this as the COVID update too, because as you know, we're seeing a spike in COVID and it's continuing on. It's
Jimmy, it's Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. Great work at the hearing.
Andrew.
Oh,
True.
Yeah, they must have liked the
Andrew,
paperwork.
kill your
They didn't
microphone.
ask any questions.
You're interrupting my meeting.
Yeah. So, yeah, I saw you on there. I was, and I was, yeah, and I was on there too. But I turned on my video and I turned on my audio, and when the woman made the motion, she just turned me off. So I couldn't say anything, and I figured, okay, they're just gonna go on.
Andrew Upton, we can hear you. Could you please mute?
Yeah, well, your experience and resume speaks for itself. And,
Can we mute him?
that's fine.
Please.
Yeah, Steve,
That's all good. All right, so just so you know, they have to certify this, and then they send it off to the ABCC, and the ABCC has to review it. It's a 2-level process.
Oh, okay.
But the ABCC doesn't have, they don't have a hearing. They just assign someone to review the paper.
I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to get control of
Sometimes
this
they call
thing,
you
so.
and say, do you really work here? Really, they run the query check. So if they call you, just answer their questions and.
Steve has to mute it or Bob White, who controls the actual Zoom.
Otherwise, within the month or so, they should get back to us. If there's any problems on the application, they usually call me if they need more paperwork. And then eventually it goes through and the town calls you, they print out a new one. With your name on it, you bring in the old one, pick up the new one, and you're all set.
Excuse me.
Hello?
Mr.
Andrew
Upton.
Upton, you are. Please hit your mute button. You are interrupting our meeting. Thank you. I guess I had to yell.
All right. Well,
Derek, go ahead.
that was special. So fun with Zoom.
You can't make this stuff up.
So, and we have fun like this because of COVID, but we're seeing a lot of impacts, obviously health wise and such, but one of them is financial. And I don't think people understand how much these finances, the town's finances are impacted from the hotel motel to the restaurant meals. Those we understand how much it's impacted those industries, and we directly are impacted on those. Especially one of the worst things was, luckily it was only essentially level funding of state aid, but everybody knows that level funding is a cut. So we're used to getting a percentage of that, and that's over 25% of our income. So I think it's incumbent upon my position, if you will, to bring opportunities forward for the town to have investment and generate revenue. And so when they reached out again, I thought that the Nose Group, Mr. Taccio, I thought this was time to bring it forward and bring it to you as a board to see what we can do to potentially generate some revenue in this town, because it's not going to get any better anytime soon. So with that, that's why I appreciate your courtesy of listening to Mr. Taccio tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, go ahead, please.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We're here this evening to ask the selectmen to allow for us to go to a special town meeting for our proposed zoning amendment. It's a hospitality, recreation, and entertainment district, which would be an overlay that would go in north of Route 25 in the R130 zone. What this does is it would allow for us to help you folks put in a zone to promote economic, sustainable development, and not have to just rely on, right now, it's a single family zoning, which requires 3 acres for a single family house. Economically, that type of zoning, which is an older type, isn't necessarily best going into the future with respect to various costs, town infrastructure, et cetera. And you folks north of Route 25 in that zone have an excellent opportunity to, you've got vacant land, which is there, but to put it to better productive use for the town with a more modern zoning scenario that can be put into place. What we do is we look at that area and we see that it's proximate to Route 25. It's got the Gatra bus line that goes through there, and then you've got large pieces of land which are available as well. What we've done is we've drafted up a proposed zoning amendment, and Ken Buckland helped us with it. He helped us with the style so that it fits in with previous amendments that you folks have in Wareham. And we did vet some of the style with him, and you should perhaps have a copy of that if you do. What it does is the features are, we've got a minimum of 100 acres, which is proposed in order for this overlay to apply. And then what it does is it basically sets up a series of uses that are oriented with this hospitality, recreation, and entertainment. And then it sets up a process where the planning board, sitting as the special permit review board, would have hearings, be able to take in all of the aspects of any development, and then be asked to issue a special permit. As part of that, they would apply the site plan review and all of the special criteria that are available under state law, and then also anything that would be subject to a special permit in Wareham now. It's the same exact process. So what the bylaw does is it basically allows for these uses to be considered by the planning board. And then, of course, whoever the applicant is, they go in, and then, like any other special permit in town, they have to satisfy the requirements, satisfy all the criteria that you folks have in town. In this instance, what it does is, because of the 100-acre minimum lot size, it has specific requirements, like there has to be a master plan that gets the site plan review. And then it's got different provisions with respect to open space requirements, which is like a 20% open space. It talks about encouraging dark sky compliant design, architectural elements, et cetera. But what it does is it gives an opportunity for the town to attract development to come into town, something that's different than just single family houses. But in order for you folks, as the town goes forward, to effectively be able to shift a lot of the burden financially in town for revenues onto more commercial nature. Wareham has not only, like every other city in town, these revenue shortfalls that are going to be coming up. The House in Senate Ways and Means today just talked about, there being an economic emergency in Massachusetts. So the timing's really relevant as we sit here today. Also, Wareham has, you folks have infrastructure which is aging, and you've got to invest in that and keep up to date with just what's there. Never mind, going forward and being able to add additional infrastructure, sewer, and the like. So what we've done in other towns is we've actually been able to go in, have more modern zoning, which attracts the investment that's necessary in order to have private developers take on some of the burden, take that away from the homeowners. And we believe that this bylaw, if it is something that we can go in, speak to the planning board about under your process, if you folks do vote to call the special town meeting, we then, under the state law, go into the planning board where we have hearings to talk about the language of the proposed bylaw, whether it works. We answer questions, we answer public questions, and what a positive vote would do is allow us to take that next step to be able to engage in the process with the town.
Okay.
Peter, for the record, everyone who's speaking on behalf of the notice group needs to identify himself or herself for the record for the television viewers. They have no idea who these people are.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Jeffrey Taccio, and I'm an attorney up in Hingham. I'm a former assistant attorney general for the Commonwealth. I've been a private attorney 32 years.
And your relationship to the notice group is?
I am counsel for the notice group. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. I do see that Mr. Tom O'Connell has shown up. Does he wish to speak to this proposal, Jeffrey, or is it just you tonight?
No, just to speak tonight. And then also Scott Golding from my office should also be here if we have any.
He is. I was just going to get to him. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, questions from the board. Alan.
This issue is, I'm not going to express my feelings one way or the other at this time until we actually speak.
Yeah.
The issue really, as we know, is a social and an economic issue. The social issue is whether people like, gambling, horse track racing, etc., versus the economic situation that we know we're looking forward to in a year, which I don't say we're looking forward to, where, as Derek said, level funding. I'm not sure we'll even have level funding, which means we could see a substantial decrease in services, cutback in employment, et cetera, which is really going to be difficult for the town to absorb. So those are the decisions that have to be made. Saying that, this has to be a town decision. The Board of Selectmen really are not in a position to make this decision for the whole town. We can make a decision to be available so the town can actually vote on this, which I believe is the only correct way to do it. This is very similar to the marijuana law that came in when the ballot question was whether you wanted marijuana or not. Wareham, actually, the numbers were 57% for, 43 against. But the bottom line is that you have such a large group on both sides, they both have to be heard, etc. I would expect that when we talk about this in a week, that if the board considers actually going ahead, you have to realize that, and I would say realistically, you'd have to have a facility that would hold 300 to 500 people. There's been talk about having it in 5 or 6 locations. I believe that is just physically impossible to make work. So we would have to have some place where there's a big piece of land or a very large building, or some kind of huge auditorium where the notice group would pay for, obviously, for all the costs, which I believe they would do. Whether it's outside in a huge tent with heating, et cetera. It's difficult to do in the wintertime. Obviously, it's easier in the spring, but we're running into the same situation even for our town meeting in December with the same issues as well. So those are my really basic concerns as far as this goes. It's a matter of the town being able to, everybody being able to express their opinion by a vote. I'm going to actually reach out through the MMA, because right now the way it's set up, we cannot do a ballot question with voting for this, because for town meeting stuff, it's not allowed at this point as far as the state goes. I'm going to actually reach out through the governor, lieutenant governor, to see if there's any appetite for modifying the existing rule changes they made, to see if they would consider a ballot question where you'd have early voting or actual voting on a set day like we do for this presidential election.
And Mr.
Because
Chairman,
I think please let me finish.
Yeah, this is zoning. This isn't an article for a casino. I think we're getting.
I understand, Derek, but people are looking at it that way. My only concern is that, again, that we give people the opportunity to physically vote on what they want. Thank you.
Yeah, and I can follow up to that. Thank you. Yeah, so that's the point. So for this, it only is a zoning change, zoning only. It would apply to an entire area. It would be available to other parcels, other proposed developments, et cetera. And all that it does is it just establishes the overlay. And then with respect to the potential date, we have met with the moderator. We understand, and she made it, very clear. Obviously, we recognize that she's got the power to, set the ultimate dates, et cetera. And we discussed that in detail. We completely understand safety is paramount. So what we're asking is, if this is allowed to go to a special town meeting, we then understand that we would be subject to everything that's within, her jurisdiction, her determination. We have already reached out. We've spoken to fire, police, also the EMT, public health, had discussions on starting to discuss if this is available, how it would be done. But we completely understand if for whatever reason it went on for a particular date and it got pushed, we're on board. We're totally 100% on board. But right now we'd like to be in the queue if we could, so that we can start to explain all of this to folks.
Fair enough. And, we did postpone town meeting in the spring. We postponed the fall town meeting. So I would not expect meetings to go forward in December if things continue like they are right now. I'll be honest. I just don't see it happening. So, it is what it is. Patrick, do you have any questions for Attorney Taccio?
So I think that this is the idea of this is a great project. We did an overlay district once before, as everybody remembers, and it's starting to come to real fruition. And, although that didn't happen for many, many years, it took a long time before the overlay district actually got used. This is actually a very good spot for this kind of use, an overlay district of this type. And by the way, this has nothing to do with casino or anything else. It's basically an overlay district. Now, those might be a plan that comes forward later on as a part of it. It might be part of something else. Who knows what it'll draw and what it'll have. Seeming it has direct access from 25 is, in my opinion, makes this property the perfect for that. The fact that it has a 70-foot high wall of fill material with trees on top of it that buffer it from Glen Charlie Road, which keeps it out of our residential neighborhoods, also makes it a really perfect spot for this kind of development. So I have no problem with this going forward. I don't have any problem with letting the townspeople vote for it. Obviously, COVID's an issue, but we'll have to work it out however it's got to be worked out. I mean, there are ways to do it. I don't know. We'll have it outside in a big field somewhere. I don't know, the football field, whatever it takes. Might be a little cool, but hey, that's what happens. But I have no problem with going forward with this, and not necessarily just because these gentlemen had presented a plan that they had withdrawn. That isn't really my issue at all, because it's really a great idea. It's a good piece of zoning, which could develop into who knows what. And these guys may never, in the end result, have nothing to do with it. They may and they may not. I mean, obviously, they have some plan that if they can get the zoning, that they have some plan that they'd like to go forward with. But right now, there's nothing being presented. It's just a zoning change. That's all it is. And any other plans later on would still have to go through all the process. If it was a casino, it would have to go on the ballot. If it was, whatever it was going to be, there's still other things, regardless of the zoning, that are going to come in front of the people. So there's really should be no issue with at least going forward with this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim, questions or comments?
Yeah. I have some concerns. I'd like to know what the increases would be, not just for this particular proposal, on traffic impact, also access to the property. Right now, from what I understood, that the interchange was off the, was not being considered at this point in time. Until we've sort of worked our way through that, I can't support it for those purposes. I need to see what the traffic impacts would be compared to what it would be for residential development. Like you said, it's 3-acre zoning. At present, it could be utilized for solar also, I believe, in residential areas, which is very low impact. I'm not against racing, and I just think there's a lot of things we need to look into before we move forward on a special permit. And looking at the permit itself, I didn't see where it said overlay district. It just said a district. So maybe I didn't see it. Maybe I overlooked that when I was quickly going through it. So I'm not against it, but I think we have to look at it a little more closely and how it will impact the people who live there, or live along Glen Charlie Road, and make sure that adequate access, it's not going to adversely impact them. Thank you.
Yeah, great. And if I may, I'll just respond to that. What you brought up, all excellent questions. that would all be part of what a planning board would require for the special permit. So all we're doing on the selectmen level is to say, let the town consider just the zoning change, not going through and trying to figure out, like traffic count, things of that nature, because there is no project that we have now. So what we do is we put together what we have on the zoning change, and then that sets you folks up to ask every one of those questions and get reports, proposals, master plans, etc. But we can't even ever get there if you don't change the zoning. And it's an overlay to the extent that it applies over the 130 north of 25. So it's something that you folks had done before. It doesn't say overlay on it, but the way that it functions is as an overlay. But that's also something that the planning board may ask us and say, we want overlay in the title, we want overlay in the description to make it more clear. So the points that you brought up are all excellent points that would be the steps that we would take if you folks say, let's accept this for the warrant, let's call a special town meeting, and then I'm off to go and start speaking with planning and start answering questions. And then that's the way that we can get this fine-tuned, so that ultimately we have the best shot of Wareham saying, yeah, this is good, it makes sense, we fit it to our requirements and what our goals are as a community, and hopefully the town says, we want to go forward, this makes sense, it makes potential financial sense, and it makes sense when you look at a commercial type opportunity versus because we'll also have economic studies on how much single family houses lose from a revenue standpoint, per household. We've got that we'll be putting together as part of this. But right now we're just asking, support it for the special town meeting. And then we start to go through the process, Jim.
Well, thank you. I kind of like that information beforehand, not after the fact. And the proposal has the planning board as a special permitting authority.
Correct.
By statute, they don't need to be the special permitting authority. The Board of Selectmen could be. Am I correct or incorrect on that?
It's just
Legislation could make anybody. I can
Thank
answer
you.
that, so I'll keep Jeffrey out of that. Rich can chime in too if he wants, but you can effectively make any board you want the permitting authority.
Right.
As long as there's just some, tenuously rational basis for doing so.
So that might be feedback once you say your green light for the zoning change consideration. That might be something, for example, everything you're bringing up, I listen to and I say, okay, that's something to talk about. But I can't get there if we're required to preload all of this information before we can even start the process. But all good questions.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the prior project. I understand, for various reasons, there are, there's one component of that went away first, and I don't know what's happening with the second component of that. That's not what's before us. What's before us is actually something that's a lot broader than a project. It's a set of development concepts, really, when you get down to it. What those will be, whether it's hospitality, whether it's a resort of some sort, whether it's a casino, whether it's a racetrack, whether it's none of those things, but something altogether different. At this point, I don't know. I will say for the record, and I think this needs to get out there. 4 of us did meet individually with a notice group. Selectman Manise declined, as was his right. We did not, at least I did not hear anything different tonight than I heard in the meeting in terms of what their goals were here, which were to achieve a zoning change and then try to tailor a project within those parameters. So the message has been consistent to me. So is there anything else for Attorney Taccio?
Yes.
Judy.
I have several questions. I'd like to go back to something that Alan said about not being able to put it on a ballot question? Alan, could you explain that again?
When the governor made some changes to the town meeting to accommodate COVID, the way the rules were, that particular piece of having like a remote town meeting in certain ways, or again, a ballot question was not part of the actual lifting of restrictions as of right now.
So are you saying it cannot go on a ballot question?
Zoning can't go on a ballot question
As of
anyway.
right
Town
now.
meeting's the only body that can adopt zoning.
Mr. Chairman?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll let Rich jump in.
Go ahead, Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Actually, I was one of the co-authors of the legislation that Alan is referring to. And that legislation was concerned mostly with giving towns the ability to hold remote town meetings. The legislature chose to take a broader idea and limit it solely to representative town meetings.
Correct.
Now, that being said, the question of having ballot questions, there is no provision under Massachusetts law to legislate through ballot question. There are very few examples of ballot questions that are allowed, Proposition 2.5 being one, but that's simply ratifying something that town meeting's already done, or not ratifying it. There is a provision under the general law to allow for a non-binding ballot question, but nothing that would allow you to hold a ballot question by an election. So that's the state of the law right now. And if you wanted to be able to, as Mr. Chairman, as you pointed out, legislate a zoning change by a ballot question, you'd need legislative authority to do so. And so you'd have to get it through Beacon Hill before you could go that route.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, but what you just said, if I may, is that there is the possibility of putting a non-binding ballot question before the people.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, yes, that's correct. The Board of Selectmen can ask for a non-binding ballot question at the annual town meeting. Pardon me, not the annual town meeting, the annual election, and get a sense of the voters that way. But that would not adopt or reject zoning. The only body that can do that right now under the current law is town meeting.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to get at is how does the public get to speak on this issue?
They show up at town meeting. If the applicant comes back with a casino, for example, that would go to a ballot question and would also require the Board of Selectmen to present a host community agreement as part of the ballot question. You can't just say to the voters, do you want a casino? The voters have to know what the agreement is and what benefits will accrue to the town before they can logically be expected to make any educated vote on such a thing. So I haven't been able to find anything similar for a horse track. But again, we don't have any of these things before us. What we have here is a request for zoning. I mean, we can ask non-binding questions of the townspeople, 30 times in an election. I don't think we've done it since I've been on the board.
Okay, may I continue with my questions?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have established that it is possible for the town to have a non-binding ballot question at the annual town meeting in the spring or the fall, because they are both.
No.
They are
It's
both.
a ballot question. It's not a town meeting. It's at the annual election.
The annual election, excuse me. All right. Mr. Toccio, you said that you drafted the zoning and had Mr. Buckland tweak it, or that you supplied him with the bones of it. Could you explain that, please?
Sure. What happens is we have a draft and then we asked him to comment on what the format was, whether it fit in with your style of what you folks do. What we do is when we put together a zoning amendment, it's got different definitions, what it'll do is it doesn't provide necessarily different definitions, but it'll use words that then circle into the definitions of your zoning bylaw. So when we put it forth and we actually talk about different provisions, in order to find a particular word, you have to go back into definitions, other sections, et cetera. So what we do when we go into a town is we ask your professional planner to take a look. That's one of their jobs, is to help folks with consistency, to make sure that we didn't put something together that, for example, was in the format that we might do for Rockland or another town. Every town has their own style, their own feel to their bylaws. So that's what we did. And, he gave us really good comments on how you folks do, this overlay type situation. Some towns, for example, like to have extremely narrow boundaries for where their zoning would apply to. Other towns like to broaden it. So in this instance, we've got like north of Route 25, the 130 zone. So you actually have to look at the zoning map to find out the broad areas that this applies to. And we want to make sure that when we spend the time to put this together, we're not going in one direction when you folks prefer something different. So it's continuity, it's consistency with the way that your bylaw works.
Okay. Originally, there was talk of a highway interchange. I believe that Mr. Muniz also mentioned that.
Yep.
And it really doesn't matter what commercial enterprise might go into this overlay district if it were approved.
Right.
But it certainly would be a burden in terms of traffic on the Charge Pond Road. So could you speak to how—
Glen Charlie, for the record.
Glen Charlie, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yep.
Could you speak to that in terms of how you would alleviate that?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at the land, not having anything specific, and I appreciate the way that you asked. It's some commercial, something that goes in there that's consistent with this bylaw. What will happen is a developer will actually go in with some proposal. It'll have some vehicle trip count, et cetera, and there'll be a study of that Glen Charlie Road, if that's only going to be the proposed access. If there are different other proposed accesses, they'll be studied as well. But what happens is when you go through that, the town will typically have a peer reviewer appointed, who's a traffic professional who will talk to the board, and numbers show that certain things fit comfortably. There are limitations, and then you've got to go for other options. When you talk specifically about an off-ramp, what I will say is that this area of 130 zoning north of 25 it meets the criteria for an interchange. I'll just say that, so that if somebody in the future determined that the economics, it all made sense, this is a really good opportunity to do that. And there are a lot of benefits that relieve what's got to be basically, it's like a mile away from the other exits on either side. And then we've actually, taken a look at it. We had comments, that we've had from traffic engineers that say this is a good opportunity. And if Wareham, if you folks, if this is something that makes some sense, et cetera, it would all be put forward with the planning board or whoever the special permit granting authority is.
Okay,
So it's—
You say that
Judy.
meets the criteria for an interchange. Whose criteria?
Oh, it would be Mass DOT. It would be federal highway criteria with respect to distance, et cetera. It's a Route 25 is a relatively modern highway, and we can take a look at it, and it solves a lot of problems. So, for example, you've got the Glen Charlie interchange is only half an interchange, and Maple Spring is the other half of the interchange. So, we know that there are certain issues with respect to some of that infrastructure, and we know for a fact that it could potentially solve a lot of those problems.
Okay. What about sewer?
Excellent question. Sewer is, something that if a developer comes in, there's going to be a certain demand. And we know that someone's going to have to come in and solve that. Right now, I can tell you that, we've actually been, speaking with your folks on, you've got an application to the Mass Works program. And that's a great step towards getting the infrastructure in place. That's what I talked about at the beginning when I said that the town has certain infrastructure limitations going forward. Not only if something new were to come in to be able to have developers basically fund that, but also you folks have infrastructure limitations that you have to keep up and you have to fund. So when a sophisticated developer comes in for a development of something which is a minimum of 100 acres, what will happen is there are certain mitigation requirements that the town will hold that developer to. And this is a situation where you just brought up two excellent infrastructure questions that it's the appropriate job of whether it's the planning board or whoever is appointed to say, prove to me that X. And we've got the criteria in this proposed bylaw, which mirrors what you folks have for your special permit, which is, it doesn't cause a nuisance to abutting neighbors. It doesn't do anything to diminish the safety capacity for vehicles, pedestrians, et cetera. This is a mechanism for the town to deal with a sophisticated developer in order to make sure that all of the requirements for a responsible, successful development are adhered to. This is a rule book that is something that once adopted, the planning board gets to say, okay, you want to do X, Y, and Z on a particular piece of land. Here are our requirements. And this is the tool that we're giving to you folks to be amended, whatever the planning board, the planner, you folks have input on this. This is our starting point, and we're asking that we be able to enter into this process with you folks.
Okay, Mr. Toccio, you didn't answer my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which one?
Okay, well, the question is, what do you plan to do about a sewer connection? The Board of Sewer.
I think I've got to hold this up here a little bit because what we're getting into is speculation about what's going to happen out there. And all we're being asked to do tonight is to listen to a zoning proposal. And I don't think he's prepared to answer questions about capacity and even roads at this point.
Right. But that this gives the opportunity, once there is a proposal, those are the issues. We're going to have to solve sewer. We're going to have to solve.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the comment.
And you know what? If you ever wind up doing anything out there, you're not only going to have to solve your own sewer, but I would guess that we will make you solve a lot of our sewer as well.
The point is.
So I'll put you on notice for that demand if it ever comes forward.
Yeah, not shocking. This is sophisticated development.
I know.
The point is that our Board of Sewer Commissioners have issued a 9-month moratorium on all connections. Are you aware of that, number one?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
And I think I can answer the question.
Well, Peter doesn't want you to.
Of course, no, of course he does. And I'm taking this in the general sense is, you've got the issues on the, 1.56 million gallons per day, trying to get it up to 2.0. We know a lot about it and we've met, I know that you folks have, you've got funding issues, you've got capacity issues. I'm sure you've got I&I issues. These are all subjects that we're used to dealing with. And the bottom line is developer, maybe it's Nodos, maybe it's someone else, comes in and says, I'm proposing the following, and your sewer commission is going to say that is going to require X 100,000 gallons per day of capacity. And they say, where are you going to find it? And we have a moratorium and we have this, we have that. And then what happens is the pendulum swings over to the developer, and the burden is, developer, solve it. If you can't solve it, you can't go forward. That's what we're used to seeing, and that's what the process is going to be. And this is your ability to open it up, whether it's Nodos, whether it's someone else with a better idea, or, you know, whatever it is, somebody has to solve that. And the bottom line is that you folks have, you know, you've got nitrification issues all up and down the Acushnet River. I mean, we know all about that. We've actually, we've looked at the UMass Dartmouth study. We're aware of all of that. And what happens is anytime we can put in sewer infrastructure, sewer trunk lines, et cetera, what it does is it winds up giving Wareham the infrastructure pieces that are going to be necessary to come up with these solutions. It may not be, you know, ultimately, you know, within a super short time frame, but it's something that for the future, you know, we make these decisions, we make these investments, it's going to be able to change the quality of the infrastructure in different parts of town. We can all be part of that.
Okay, I have just two more.
Sure.
Our fall annual town meeting was postponed correctly, I believe, to December 28th. And we have business that was postponed from the April town meeting, again, appropriately. Why, if you have no idea, you have no concept on the table, why can't you wait until April or May, where you could, in fact, where the town could, in fact, have a safe town meeting? I've done a fair amount of homework, and I don't believe, other than having open air parking lot town meetings, which apparently, according to MMA, are terrible, very difficult to control. There's no place that would hold 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 600 people who might be interested in this development. I think that many of the questions, and I understand that some of them need to be answered after you get what you think you need to move forward and take an opportunity. But why not wait until April so that we can do this safely, so that all of the townspeople who want to attend can, because they cannot do it now. We have many people who will not go out of an evening in December. We have many people who are snowbirds who may not be here. This is a very, very important decision, and you've had it under consideration for 1.5 years or whatever the period of time is. Can you not wait another 6 months or 8 months?
So what we did was we met with Moderator Smith and we discussed some of this. We discussed whether it was appropriate to try to have this wedged in with the fall town meeting that you folks have scheduled. We understood that you folks have a lot of items, many of which were delayed from the prior town meeting. And the decision, or at least what the consensus that we reached, was that we didn't want to be in a position of, kind of clouding up all of the work that you folks had to get done. What we did was we talked about something in December prior to the meeting on the 28th. What we recommended is that if we've got public safety consultants, experts, et cetera, if we could have them speak with police, fire, EMT, public safety, Board of Health, et cetera, to come up with a protocol that met the numbers that she talked about in different areas, that we would go forward with that, fund all the work to figure it out. And if it was something that we figured out, we came up with protocols, we came up with cleaning protocols, et cetera, that would be something that would provide a potential model for you folks. You'd know, on the 28th, if that was something, we would basically invest in the homework and the preparation, get on the learning curve, and that would be something that would be potentially available for the town, so that you folks can accomplish your fall town meeting, because you've got a lot of town business to do. We are looking at that. And the bottom line, if it's something that can't work because of COVID, if we can't get the logistics to happen, and moderator Claire Smith says, folks, we can't do it, then that's fine. You're not going to hear a peep or anything from us. But it gives us an opportunity to jump into it. We've already been jumping into it. And if anything that we learn is applicable for your fall town meeting, then I think that we've provided value, and we've put a lot of sweat equity into it. So I think that's all positive. With respect to waiting until April, we would like to try to get into the queue as early as possible. If the zoning bylaw change, is passed, there's a 90-day review by the Attorney General's office. So what happens is that the dates aren't as kind of quick and applicable and linear as you would think. The other piece of the equation is we think that development opportunities are going to be out there, that as far as Southeast Mass is concerned, we think that Wareham just has excellent opportunities. And to the extent that we can be in the queue, then what that does is that that shows the world that we've got a town that is at least willing to listen, consider proposals. And if we then have to wait for the Attorney General's office to approve it, it gives us an opportunity to start to do some work on our side.
1 second.
Yep.
Who is Mike?
I just joined.
Okay.
Well, Peter, you're muted. There you go.
Yeah, Steve hit me first. Okay,
Judy,
we're okay with Mike. Judy, any more questions?
Judy, have one more question.
Well, I think, quite honestly, I don't think that the town moderator ought to be put in the position of being the bad guy here. We, as elected officials, are responsible for the safety and welfare of the citizens of this town. And to be honest with you, with the numbers going up, I'm very hesitant to support you until April or May. And I because you've been considering this opportunity for a period of time, and you obviously have invested funds over that period of time, I don't believe that you're going to be walking away from the investment of time and effort and money that you've put into it if you have to wait until April.
Well, I'll just respond. The town moderator, it's not a matter of keeping her from being the bad guy. First of all, there's no bad guy. It's public safety. Public safety is paramount. It's number one. You folks could have your vote next Tuesday, and Wednesday morning she could call us up and say it's pushed. No problem whatsoever. The second thing is the town moderator. That's their job. Governor Baker, through the executive order, that's her call. That's her job. And she didn't express, she told us, she said, I come from a family that's in public safety. I take this very, very seriously. I've got friends who have been afflicted. And, so that's where we're at. If she calls and says, I'm going to push this back, that's absolutely fine. But I just asked the selectmen if you folks could support it through the function of the selectmen, do that job that you've got tonight, and then allow her to, exercise her powers and duties, which, 100%. If she says, Mr. Taccio, we're going to push this, she's not a bad guy. We completely understand it, completely.
Then I would throw it back at you. Why not ask us to do it in April?
Well, for a host of reasons, like you say, you've got a lot of money invested in this, absolutely, et cetera. We also have purchase and sale agreements. We've got dates, we've got buyers, we've got sellers. we've got a lot of internal issues and costs that are extremely difficult to carry where, there's indecision. All that we're asking is for an opportunity to advance a proposed zoning change. We've got many, many steps beyond this. We're only asking for this threshold piece. If this gets delayed, just by us voluntarily pushing it back, 5-6 months, Judy, we're just going to be wiped out of contention if we do that. If Claire says, we're looking good for, you tell me, end of January, whatnot, it's 45 days later, but we can deal with that. We can continue to go forward, speak with the sellers. They can understand that we're going forward. If the board isn't even willing to entertain this, it just doesn't send a real message of confidence. Because then we'd be going in for extensions, et cetera. And the question's going to be, are you wasting your time? All you did was ask for the opportunity for a zoning change, and they won't even entertain that. They'd rather have single family houses. It's difficult to, it's difficult for me to just say, oh, they're going to be fine with it in April or whatnot. It's just, it's probably giving you too much of my behind the scenes, but I wouldn't be asking for these dates if it wasn't something that I had a reason for. If this wasn't a big deal, if it was something that I could just say, sure, let's do April, it would be a lot easier for me. And that's my honest response. And I know you asked me the question, I wanted to respond fully.
Yeah, I think you did respond honestly, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just so everybody knows, the moderator, of course, was already having conversations with me about what we thought was whether we'd even be able to go forward in December. She adopts a very conservative approach to safety, as we saw with the Springtown meeting, which we moved out of the auditorium into the gym and had almost extreme social distancing. So I think we can trust to the town moderator to keep us safe. Her biggest concern, and she's expressed this to me, is that a meeting is held too soon and the virus is spread. She doesn't want that on her conscience. And, I told her that I would fully support her in any decision she makes. I know she's heard that from the town administrator as well. I would hope that everybody on this board would agree that we would support her in any such decision. If she has to delay things, she has to delay things. That's just the way it is. On the other hand, to some extent, calling for a town meeting that could be delayed isn't putting anybody in danger. So I personally would likely vote on Tuesday in favor of setting it up. The other point to make here is opening a town meeting warrant is not the same thing as placing a town meeting article on the warrant. That is a separate vote by this board. That comes with separate considerations, and that comes with a separate analysis. So this board's going to have an opportunity all over again to weigh in on that, just for the public's knowledge. Opening a town meeting warrant is not necessarily putting an article on it. That's,
thank you.
Totally separate thing here. So there's going to be, I would suspect that there would be a repeat visit to this board from Attorney Taccio. We would also want to hear from the planning board at that point, because it's going to require a public hearing with the planning board. So there's additional process both with this board and the public before this ever gets to town meeting. So I want to make sure people understand that as well. Is there anything else to be said, Alan?
Yeah, I need to apologize a little bit. I was trying to be very transparent overall with the overall long-term part of this projects. The question really still is a zoning question. And we have to understand that's really what we're talking about right now. My wife always basically hits me in the back of the head when CPC has something which the Board of Selectmen says, no, we're not going to bring it forward. I strongly believe that anything we do has to come before the public. We really don't have a right to, cancel stuff out, even though we have a policy that says we do. So this particular piece here, it's a zoning question. It doesn't matter what gets developed there because there's so many checks and balances going forward past this that I'm not really concerned about it. And basically, when we talk about next Tuesday, my feeling is going to be that, okay, this is a piece that could be developed in all different ways, et cetera. There's no end game here right now, but I just felt I really wanted to be straightforward, that we knew there was something else planned. And by going ahead and expressing it right off the bat, I opened up what I call Pandora's box. We started discussing the real fine details and everything else. And I do apologize because we really went past what the discussion should have been. Thank you.
It is what it is. You know, it's bound to happen with an item this big. You're going to get astray. That's just, you know.
Well, you know me, I'm transparent.
Yep. Patrick, thoughts? Anything else for Attorney Taccio?
No, I agree with what Alan was saying. Actually, it's you know, frankly, you know, this is a zoning article right now, and we don't even know if ultimately there'll be the end result of this whole thing. Like I said, you know, they have probably an option on the property or whatever. That option could expire, could get taken away. There could be any kind of things. And somebody else could come in and say, well, we're going to do something different. I mean, you just don't know what it is. It's basically a zoning overlay district.
So when did she start being sick?
Whoever's watching the meeting that isn't on the board or presenting to the board, please turn off your microphones, because when you speak in the background, it interrupts what we're doing.
I think they're gone.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. At any rate, yeah. So, like I said, I don't have a problem with putting this on. You know, this could be, may not even work out for them in the end result. I mean, we don't know how town meeting's going to take it and whether they're going to handle it or not. You know, we're giving them the opportunity to, in my opinion, some kind of project out there can only help the town. Tax dollars. I mean, this is, to think about this. We're putting, let's say that their project went forward, whatever it was, whatever they put out there, it would be a commercial project. It would put virtually no tax on town services. It would bring in a considerable amount of money to the town coffers, which is always sort of the criteria we use. And let's say that it's 3-acre zoning right now. There's over 300 acres out there that they're talking about, and there's a bunch of other parcels. So if they built houses out there, you know, 3-acre zoning, well, you know, that's a few houses.
Yep.
You know, and it could be that's a lot of houses, and it's a lot of potential tax burden on the town. So this is one of those things that helps all the rest of the residents that are here. It helps them all with services that they deserve and need. And you know, look, we've been short with services and needs for a long, long time in this town. And if we can go forward and get people some things that they might need as a result of turning this district, which is very isolated, like I said, with perfect access, protection to Glen Charlie and the whole thing, it makes all kinds of sense. And I'm willing to put it on. It's as simple as that.
Okay, thank you. Jim, any remarks?
I think
Jim, you
Jim's
there?
muted.
I'm good. I said what I needed to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, then. I don't have anything further. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your presentation. We will vote on whether to establish a special town meeting, and I will have the timeline before the board, and as part of everything that we do at that time. We follow a process. Every time we do a town meeting, we actually do the whole, read into the record a document. It's basically a motion for all of the steps for town meeting, which includes, you know, the proper posting of the warrant and when it has to be done by, you know, when you open the warrant, when you close the warrant, so on and so forth. So that will be before the board on Tuesday, and we will go from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Stay well. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, going back on the agenda, let's go back to the COVID-19 update. Derek, do you have anything to tell us?
No, I pulled up the, unfortunately, I got the wrong email on it. I think received the request of the numbers, not the actual numbers. So I'll update us on Tuesday.
Okay. Now down to our other wonderful elephant in the room, refuse update.
Yeah, I don't think there's Jim can, Selectman Muniz can pop up if I'm saying anything incorrectly. We have a meeting Monday with CMW to go over the lease by Wareham of the Route 28 transfer station, and that'll be a big driver for taking the next steps. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
All righty. Well, we will hear from you on Tuesday about that then, how that went.
Yeah, let me just opine here. We also met and had some discussion to work out terms of the lease, a possible terms of a lease. And the other day with Attorney Bowen and the district's attorney, the executive director, and some members. So that was a big step. I think it was a positive step. We also met with the Board of Health, Selectman Whiteside, Town Administrator Sullivan, and myself, and brought them up to date on it. We're moving in a good direction. A lot of what the transfer station issues hinges on Monday's meeting, and hopefully that'll turn out in a positive manner. I know that Town Administrator Sullivan has been working on a contract for curbside collection, and we're also working on the details of how we have to achieve that end result. So we're moving forward, and we might need some. We may need to take some action ourselves on bylaws related to that moving forward. So those things need to be considered to take care of our current concerns within the town. And that's where we are, I guess.
Yeah, and I think to that point, Selectman Community is right, and frankly, the push off to the 28th of town meeting, and if we're pushed any further, it's a bit of a problem on moving forward. So hopefully we can figure something out sooner rather than later. So it's not ideal. It's unfortunately, it's our form of government. You know, the representative town meetings have been able to do some of the ones where you can basically zoom in. That's the virtual town meeting, if you will. We can't do that.
Nope. Nope. It is what it is. We're stuck with the hand we're dealt. So we'll figure it out. Let me see, what else do we have on the agenda? Hold on one second. I just signed myself. I'm looking at it on my phone here. I just signed myself out.
You have some minutes to approve.
Okay. Do we have board comments or do we have liaison reports first? You trying to skip Alan again?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
You skipped
Okay.
me.
I'll do this as quick as I can. Everybody's tired, I'm sure by now. MMA, the legislative group for transportation, we basically voted to go ahead and ask legislatively for an article for $300 million for roads for Chapter 90 for fiscal 2021. In the meantime, they're actually going, they're going to go ahead and do a shared program type of legislation, probably coming up for the following year, where cities and towns can put X number of dollars in and get at least a 1-to-1 or possibly a 2-to-1 match, hopefully to bring up the Chapter 90 funding to $400 to $450 million. So I guess by sticking my neck out and having Lieutenant Governor be upset with me was worthwhile in the long run. So they're actually going to move ahead with what I suggested. The UMass Dartmouth, as I mentioned before, got their grant again for the Blue Tech Corridor. There was some questions whether UMass was basically going to fold as far as this particular process went. So we have not lost that. I sent everybody out notice today about the meeting with the governor and lieutenant governor. And I'll quickly just a couple high points for the public. Just give me a second, I'll pull it back up again. Okay. As I mentioned, there's no new additional restrictions from what happened on Monday and Tuesday. This forward, he emphasized the wearing of masks as the single greatest weapon against COVID-19 right now. He also is concerned that organizations are using religious buildings such as churches, etc., for social gatherings. And I guess a couple of these gatherings have caused fairly large outbreaks of COVID in those areas. So they're concerned about that. When we talk about sports like basketball, hockey, etc., he specifically mentioned hockey as another concern because people aren't using masks, etc., at the games as well. The towns are allowed to fine. If they have to go past that, they can basically step up. It's up to the municipalities. Private gatherings as of tomorrow is on private is 10 inside, 25 outside. Public gatherings is 25 inside, 100 outside. What they call non-risk gatherings is 25 inside, 50 outside. The closure rules we already heard about from restaurants and businesses at 9:30. If you're sitting in a restaurant, for example, you've placed your order before 9:30, you can basically sit and eat, but they like to see you out of the restaurant or the business involved by 10 o'clock. If you get to a restaurant after 9:30, you cannot place an order for food or for beverages. And they've been, that's how that's going to work. Also, as far as we're in the red, communities, how it works is there's 4 weeks of data, not 3, 4 weeks of data with 3 reports, because reports don't come out on a weekly basis. And if you have 3 weeks, 3 reports in the red, you're going to have to move back to phase 1, step 1, which, for us will be pretty bad as far as restaurants, a lot of the businesses. In order to get out of this, going back to go forward again, you have to have 4 weeks of data with 3 reports showing that you've decreased and have left what they call the red situation. Means you go to phase 2. My simple comment to everybody is I hope basically we can reverse this and get back, to where we are, because we're pretty close right now. And I think that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Patrick?
I'm all set tonight.
Okay. Jim?
We have the CMW meeting to discuss the lease and possible use of the Rochester facility on Monday at 9 a.m. in the multi-service center. I don't know if we could somehow set up a Zoom meeting in case the public would like to attend because of spacing concerns and distances. Kind of posing that through you to Town Administrator Sullivan on that. Maybe he could help us out, maybe not, I don't know. It's just a thought. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Let's see, Judy.
The only meeting that I attended was the Board of Health, and Mr. Sullivan said it yesterday to the Board of Health, but I want to repeat his words. Basically, the Board of Health has been extremely helpful during this awful time, that the employees, the guidance of the Board of Health in helping us cope with the COVID problem is very much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything to report there. We have a couple of sets of minutes.
Yes, they are both executive session. So I make a motion to.
Was everybody here for both?
Yes, but yes,
Okay.
they were. The first one is July 21st, 2020. I move that they be approved and held.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and hold the July 21st, 2020 executive session minutes. Can I have a second, please?
Second, Alan.
Okay, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes,
myself, yes. Okay, they're approved and held 500. Next set of minutes.
next set of minutes is October 20th of 2020. All members were present and I move that they be approved as written and held.
Second by Alan.
Okay, motion by Judy, seconded by Alan. Roll call vote. Alan,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes,
myself, yes. Also 500 to approve and hold. Alan,
Motion to adjourn as usual.
second.
we have a motion to adjourn from Alan. Can I have a second?
I did. Second.
Seconded by Judy. Roll call vote. Alan,
Obviously.
Patrick,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes, please.
myself, yes, 500. Thank you, Wareham. It was good to see people actually paying attention to us tonight. Take care.
Please be safe, everybody.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.